I've had an abortion. Do you think I'm an evil person for having an abortion?
No.
Then why? So
I'm sorry you had an abortion. And
I'm not.
I'm
not sorry.
I wish you felt like you didn't have to choose.
No, I wanted to choose that.
You wanted to choose to have an abortion?
You can see her
Yes.
reactions.
Were you excited to have your abortion?
No, it was the most
Closed
painful
off.
process I've ever been through, and I will do it again 1,000%.
What made you feel like you had to choose abortion?
I chose it because it was my choice to make, and because I didn't want to bring a child into a world that's dying.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Under God podcast. My name is Daniel. I'm one of the co-hosts. We're so excited to be with you again today. We're going to be diving into our weekly culture review. We've got a little bit of a different setup coming today. One of the things we wanted to really get into with the culture review is we wanted to take the time and actually look at some of the things that you guys are seeing online and help give you a fresh perspective on what's happening. I'm joined today by our very own Elliot, who's helps oversee all of the content that we put together here at Vintage Church. And so we're going to be going through some of these things that you guys come across on social media, and we're going to be telling you a little bit about what we think a biblical perspective looks like in all of these different things. We know that your feed is flooded constantly with different videos and viral clips, and what do I think about this, and what do I think about that? And so we're just going to be here and processing some of it with you real time. We are so glad that you chose to join us today. Let's dive in.
Let's do it.
So, I've had an abortion. Do you think I'm an evil person for having an abortion?
No.
Then why? So
I'm sorry you had an abortion. And
I'm not.
I'm
not sorry.
I wish you felt like you didn't have to choose.
No, I
your
wanted
life
to
and your
choose
child.
that.
You wanted to choose to have an
You
abortion?
can see her
Yes.
reactions.
Were you excited to have your abortion?
No, it was the most
Closed
painful
off.
process I've ever been through, and I will do it again 1,000%.
What made you feel like you had to choose abortion?
I chose it because it was my choice to make, and because I didn't want to bring a child into a world that's dying.
The world is dying?
Yes, the world is dying.
How is that going to help the world from not
That's
dying?
that.
Well, why would having a kid
That worldview.
while I'm trying to
The
go
earth
through
is dying,
college
so
and
I
with my
shouldn't
family, how would that
recreate.
benefit me?
Well, do you think your
It's a
life is
climate
just
cult.
about you?
Yeah, it is, because it's my life.
Do you think you have any
That's an
duty
entitlement
as a
mindset.
member of our society, or do you think your body or your life is meant for anything greater than just your own pursuits?
No,
Is there any point to this life?
Yeah.
no.
I feel really sorry.
That's hedonism.
There
I
it
know.
is. Yeah, there you go.
But I feel really bad that you had an abortion. I hope you
That's
go
great
It's
to
for
honestly
you.
tragic.
standingwithyou.org, you get resources, and if you ever find yourself pregnant again,
I would
hope,
abort it immediately.
Ugh.
again.
I hope there wouldn't there. Do you think
Actually-
there's something less extreme that we
Yeah,
can
I'm gonna
do?
get
That's hard to
sterilized
watch.
next year, actually.
That's really sad. That's really sad.
It's not sad.
I'm sorry you feel like that. That's
I'm
your
ending
body.
my bloodline, and I'm proud of that.
I feel real. I have nothing but sympathy for you because I feel truly sorry for you.
Wow.
Gosh.
Man, that's brutal. I look at that and I'm like, there's so many different thoughts that I have on that.
Yeah.
One of the things that you look at people like this, and there's a couple of different categories of people when you're talking about deeply personal moral issues like this, and she basically starts off and she's like, am I evil for having an abortion? And this lady, Kristen Hawkins, is a pro-life apologist, and she says, no, you're not evil. And I have a couple of thoughts on that.
Yeah.
And so my thoughts on that are her approach and how she's handling with this woman is really excellent.
Yeah.
This woman is obviously hurting. She's coming from a place of her own pain and her own suffering. She's not sitting there trying to have an intellectual discussion.
Right.
She's trying to have a personal discussion, and she's trying to advocate for a choice that she's already made in the past,
Yeah.
and have that choice be affirmed because she doesn't want to have to confront the reality. But even then, when Kristen asks her, she says, well, did you enjoy it? And she says, no, it was so painful.
Yeah.
That's like the most honest thing in the clip. And so I think this girl kind of bounces back and forth between a place of honesty, which is in that moment, and extreme anger and just dishonesty, where she just starts to shut down everything that's being asked. But it does show you the worldview that she really holds, because she's saying, I don't want to bring a child into the world. I think that's an honest statement. I think she really thinks, and this is the view that comes from a lot of these climate activists, the world is dying and so you shouldn't have kids. You're killing the world with your kids. And it's this inversion of what matters most. She's saying the most important thing is that the earth is good. The most important thing is that the earth can survive. Instead of the earth is there as part of humanity's dominion that God gave to mankind to subjugate and is ultimately to be built up for his purposes. It's a disordered function. And so that's one thing. And then she asks her, she's like, hey, okay, well, do you think that you owe society anything? And she goes, no, my life is just about me. It's about what I can get out of it. And that's a hedonistic perspective. And we've talked about that a lot on the show. That's her saying, all that matters is me. The only thing, I'm ending my bloodline because they don't serve me. And what you know is, as a parent, is that you serve somebody else with your life. You pour your life out in service of your family first, your family and your church first, and then others after that. And then what you start to recognize is that you actually get a greater fulfillment out of turning and serving others. And that's why Jesus tells us, hey, the first shall be last, the last shall be first, right? That's actually God's kingdom design, is that you pour your life out in service to others. He says, even the Son of Man doesn't come to be served, but to serve, to give his life as a ransom for many. Right. And so I watched this clip and I'm extremely burdened for this young girl. And I'll just say, as a pastor, like, I pray for her. As a pastor, I long to see young women like this who have been so deceived and so lied to come back to a knowledge of the truth. Because the reality is, this is not just like a subject. She's talking about the fact that she's killed her child. And so, as a pastor, my heart cries out for her. But she's so angry, and we have to stand up and speak clearly. And so I think we can do a couple of things here. I think that we can speak clearly and say, hey, you have engaged in something that is deeply wicked. What Kristen does is she speaks to the real emotional person that's in front of her, and she just says, I want to offer you hope. I think that's true, and that's good. We also, I think, have to speak clearly when we talk about the issue of abortion. And what I would say is, does this make you, she says, does this make me an evil person? And I would say, it makes you a sinful person in the sense that
the heart is
all of
wicked.
us,
we are all sinful.
All of us are sinful. Actually, the answer is you are wicked and so am I.
Right.
The correction to our wickedness is the sacrifice of the Son and repenting and following after him, which comes through Jesus. And that's available to you too. Right. I think that the way she handled this with empathy and love is a bit of a masterclass. When we're talking about it removed from this one person's personal circumstance, I can say, yes, it is wicked for you to have an abortion. It is wicked for anybody to advocate for the slaughter of a human life in the womb. That is evil. It just is. But I understand you're a real person standing in front of me, and my sin and your sin are great before God. Yeah. And I'm not holier than thou. What I want you to understand is that Christ is holier than both of us, and you can repent and turn back to him. This girl has no idea about any of that, and you can feel the anger coming off of this girl. She turns at the moment that Kristen starts to empathize with her, and she recognizes.
Well, it's almost like
she just turns and attacks her.
It's conflicting. I will say that's the one thing that I did recognize in this short little clip, and obviously it's a clip, so we don't know the full conversation that kind of happened, but she never once denies that it was a human in her womb that was murdered. Yeah, like she doesn't.
Well, she says, "I'm ending my bloodline," right? Yeah. So she understands there's at least the basics of the biological process that you conceive and have children.
But even it's going back to Romans, and we've talked about this before. But worshiping the creation rather than the Creator. Yeah. And so this Gaia worship, this Mother Earth worship that we kind of see happening, has taken such a stronghold. I mean, I remember even like growing up on Nickelodeon, they would have one day where it was like, hey, we're stopping all of our programming for Earth Day.
What is Earth Day? Like, what the heck? I hate Earth Day. Earth Day's dumb. I'm sorry, but that's what that worldview. Yeah, it's like we're supposed to come back. When you say Gaia worship, you're talking about the ancient Greek creator, which is God, that's the earth, right?
Goddess,
goddess of the earth, Gaia, and so which comes before the Titans, which come before the gods, and there's a whole mythology there. But it's this practice that's seen in all sorts of different pagan religions, right? And it's essentially that we worship the earth, and we hope that the earth will then bless us because of our worship to the earth.
To the point of sacrificing your children to the earth, and that's something that we see a lot. I think we kind of see this going on in her internal dialogue, is for the sake of the earth, I'm going to sacrifice my child.
I don't want to bring a child into the world because the world is dying. And she could be saying two things there. I'll be fair. She could be saying, hey, I don't want to bring a child into the world because I don't want to bring my child into a dying world. But I don't think that's really what she's saying, because if that were the case, then you wouldn't have terminated your child. That's illogical. You're saying it's better for my child to be dead than it is to be in a world that could end.
I know a lot of...
You're ending the world of the child when you end the life of the child.
I know a lot of young Christian couples that they don't want to have children because of the state of our world being in. Yeah. But I agree with you. I don't think that's what's happening here because of the irony, the terrible irony of ending your child's life before they even get the chance to experience.
The terrible tragedy, really. The terrible lie that you've bought. And this is what the devil does. The devil says, if you do this, your life will be more prosperous.
Right.
If you give in to this one temptation, and the temptation that gets set before young women is the idea of the world. And it's this idea that's come into our culture broad scale because of feminism, which says that you should be like a man and you should pursue after all of the things that men pursue, which is the winning of providence outside of the home, right? Provision outside of the home, and you should go be a girl boss, and you should pursue the roles that are traditionally masculine roles, and that should be your highest end, when in fact God has created a higher end for women, which is to create a new generation of people, right? That's the act of sacrificial motherhood. That's
that sounds really misogynistic, Pastor Dan.
I mean, look, you can say what it is. All I can say is that if you ask any of the women in our church, even the ones
100%.
that have jobs and are mothers at the same time, even the ones that have a career, you're going to ask them which of these things is more important in your life, and they're going to say being a mother, being the mother to my young children. I would trade, if I had to choose between my kids and my career, even if we have high-powered attorneys and doctors and all sorts of people in our church. I guarantee if you said, hey, which of these pursuits has given you a greater purpose in your life? Which of these pursuits has given you a higher calling in your life, given you more perspective on your relationship with God, grown you up the most, and brought you more joy? I don't know a single person who's a disciple of Christ, really walking with him, that would say, I would trade my children for my job. Right? I don't know any of them. Because they understand that this is the deeper thing. But feminism has inverted that. And so they've said, sacrifice your children for your career. And that's the whole idea behind Moloch worship, which is that they would pass the children through the fire. They would set the children in these bronze arms that would be burning. You would hear the shrieks of the children. They would play the drums to drown them out. And the children are dying in the fire. And the hope was that if you sacrifice your child to the fire, that Moloch would bring you a prosperous harvest. Yeah. And you would have prosperity in your material possessions at the sacrifice of your children.
Right.
That's the same issue that abortion is today. And so I think we have to speak clearly about that while also handling with compassion, because what has happened is that this girl bought into that lie, and then she went through a terrible tragedy. She recognized it's not just this minor medical procedure that they lie to you about. And because of that, she spent her entire life since that decision trying to reaffirm that she did the right thing.
She's having major cognitive dissonance.
And it's made her so angry. And you can tell exactly every single word that comes out of her. There's anger, there's pain, there's hurt, there's bitterness. And I would just say, if you're one of those people, you've made this decision in your life, here's what I'll say. Yes, what you did is wrong. You aren't going to escape it by running away from it. The only way you can escape it is by confronting it. The only way I can get free from my sin is by looking it in the eye and saying what I did was wrong, going to the Lord and saying, God, please forgive me. Right. And then you have to have the faith to believe that when you ask him to forgive you, he does forgive you, that when he said it's finished on the cross, that it is finished, and that you can find redemption, you can find healing. When I went to my wife and I said, hey, I have sinned against you, like for the first time back when we were dating, right? that brought healing to my relationship with her, because I said, hey, look, I've done something wrong, and it brought healing, right? When I went to her this weekend, when I sinned against her, right? Meaning I did something, I was really angry, spoken and said things I shouldn't have said. They weren't true. They were from my flesh. I went, and that repentance to God and to her brought healing into our home. It's the same thing when you're in your relationship with the Lord, as you say, Lord, I've done something wrong before you.
Well, what does it take to do that? What does it take to ask for repentance? It's humility.
Yeah.
And so what do we see our culture constantly cheering about and trying to urge everybody else to get in on? It's pride. Yeah. And pride is the direct opposite of humility. Yeah. And so you're never going to have people that come to repentance. You're never going to have people that think that they did anything wrong. And when they're faced with that, there is cognitive dissonance, because the Holy Spirit, as long as there's still breath in our lungs, is drawing us closer to him.
Yeah. Yeah. I would just say, look, that's 100% right. You have to humble yourself. You have to confront the reality. There's also hope. There's freedom. If you're one of those people and you've made that choice and you're hurting and you're struggling because of what you've done, or you have another sin and you're struggling, there's hope in Jesus. Come to church. Amen. Come, tap me on the shoulder on Sunday. If you're a listener and you don't go to our church, send us a message, right? Email me, daniel@vintage.church. We'll find you some resources in your area that'll help you. We want to help you guys find the freedom that only comes in Christ, so that you don't end up like this girl who's just angry and bitter and destroying her own life
it's sad.
Because of a choice that's in her past that she can't let go of. And on the off chance she sees it, she can find freedom too. Anybody can in Jesus. All right, let's watch this next one.
Would I launch strikes in Mexico to stop drugs? It's okay with me. Whatever we have to do to stop drugs. Mexico is... Look, I looked at Mexico City over the weekend. There's some big problems over there.
It's just so casually, I might invade.
What we've done to the waterways... there's almost no drugs coming in through our waterways anymore. Isn't it down like 85%?
It is, sir.
I don't know who the 15% would be. It wouldn't be you.
No, that's for sure.
No, I think it's been...
tons and tons.
You would say that's a big signal.
Absolutely.
We have almost no drugs coming into our country by the sea, by, the waterways. And you know why, okay? I mean, it's pretty obvious.
Yeah, he blew them all up.
Would I do that on the land cars? I would absolutely. Look, every boat we knock out, we save 25,000 American lives.
Yeah.
Not to mention the destruction of families. These families are decimated forever. The mother, the father, the children. They never recover really from it. When you lose somebody, like the way they live. If you lose them, but the way they die is horrible.
Is it something?
So when we knock out a boat and we save 25,000 lives, that's great. Now,
that's
I
right.
feel the same way about the corridors that they use. We know every one of them. We have every one of those corridors under major surveillance. We have nobody coming in through our southern border.
Yeah, I mean, so I love this. I'll just say, I'm so pro this. There was a great moment right before Trump took office where he started talking about what he was going to do with the immigration enforcement surrounding a lot of the violent gangs that we have in the United States. And I think it was Michael Knowles on his show. He went on and Trump has this statement that's well put together that his team has put together for him. And Knowles just said, I want to translate. What he's saying is that a bunch of cholos with face tattoos are about to get a visit from the federal government.
Yeah.
And I was like, nice. I liked that. Then here's the deal. This is a major issue for our country. I mean, I was in the military and I have joked with my wife, and our producer Nick, and I joked about it before, and there's like two wars that I think could potentially convince me to go back into the military for a period of time, and it's the holy war waging in Nigeria for Christians being slaughtered en masse by Boko Haram, and it's drug cartels in Mexico.
Yeah,
I was a tank guy, and so the idea that I could just go from Fort Hood and just roll straight through it's sort of like I don't know any tanker here at Hood that if you said, hey, you can just go down to the southern border a little bit, you can go to these corridors, you can find some drug cartels, you can let off a couple of rounds their
Just
direction. I don't know anybody that would be like, no, not interested. Like so there's that, personally, but just as a political matter and as a matter of the national defense, this is a big deal. And as Christians, it's okay for us to look at stuff like this and say, yes, it's good to protect our border. Nations have one fundamental law that undergirds all other laws, which is that everything within a certain sphere, a line drawn around your nation called the border, is governed by the laws of that nation.
Right.
And so if you don't have a border, you do not have a nation.
Right.
And what Trump is talking about with all of the drug cartel issues is he's talking about the fact that thousands and thousands and thousands of kilos of drugs are coming across our border. They're killing Americans. It's the same body count as it would be if we were in an active conflict with Mexico. And Mexico is allowing it to happen. One of the things that we saw over the weekend was that it came out that there is money that we've given to the Mexican government, hundreds of millions of dollars over years of giving to the money to the Mexican government so that they can fight the cartels, that they have then turned around and given to the cartels that our cartels can continue their operations. What's the solution to that? Our idea so far has been that we're going to partner with the Mexican government and we're going to allow them to take care of everything on their side of the border. Well, now Trump is saying, hey, I'm going to blow up everything that is in the water. We might have to start blowing up everything that's in the land too. The honest truth is that if we don't have to guard the land borders, or if we don't guard the land borders, then we're not going to prevent the full flow of drugs from coming in.
Right.
We have to take care of it at some point. And so he's saying, look, I'm open to it. Now, I do think there is some politicking that's going on here.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, we've known for years how much the cartel, I don't think the extent, but we know that the cartel has a very heavy hand in the Mexican government. And I think it was just this past week, we've kind of seen a lot of the citizens of Mexico on the cusp of what we're seeing happening here in America with Charlie Kirk and the fighting back that we're taking back of our nation. A lot of Mexican civilians did the same thing with their nation. They're having protests right now. They're trying to get their government back from the cartels just because it is such a bad issue. Like, we're seeing bits and pieces of it over here, and President Trump's doing a great job holding the line on those things. But in Mexico, that's their day to day.
And here's the thing. A lot of people will say, well, Pastor, that's so harsh. Are you like calling for war? I am not calling for outright war with Mexico. Now, I'm saying that if there's a just war, I'm not always opposed to it.
Right.
And that's my personal position. I'm sure there's other people, but there is a studied sphere of theology called just war theory. And this is something I am extremely familiar with. It's something that I've studied deeply. And just war doctrine essentially says that there are conditions that can be met upon which you are rightfully allowed to engage in a war under biblical principles. And there's a few of those principles that are, hey, there has to be a direct and present threat and danger. There is a direct and present threat of danger with the things that are happening in Mexico. It's actively killing American citizens. That you can go through this entire doctrine, and then so the super overview is there's just ad bello, just ad bellum, and this is justice in engaging in war, so basically justice in starting war, and justice in when you're actually participating in war. And so there's these two spheres of it, and the idea is here are the criteria that you have to meet in order to engage in a war that is just, right? You don't just get to go pick wars with people that you can slaughter and whatever. I think the cartels have proven themselves a clear and present threat to the citizens of the United States. And so when you talk about engaging in war, the question of can war be moral is clearly yes, right? It is clearly yes. And by the way, the history of a lot of Christendom is that we would have to go and we would have to fight war in order to preserve the peoples of nations that are largely following after Christ, and that's okay. It's not optimal, but there are threats to the lives of real innocent people, and you have to have the strength to stand up for that. I love the people that live in my home, and Pastor Stephen does a great job. He says this all the time. He says, you don't lock your door so that because you hate the people on the outside. You lock your door because you love the people on the inside. If somebody breaks into my house and kills my child because I failed to lock the door, I bear some responsibility for that. I'm the strong man in the house, right? I'm the one that's supposed to do the protecting. And the government, the magistrate, it is their job to protect the citizens of that house. And if a neighboring government, which is the government of Mexico, has failed to deal with a problem that is a rising militia of people who are dealing in both the trafficking of drugs, the trafficking of children, the trafficking of weapons, all of those things are happening on their side of our border and on our side of our border because they've Mexican government has allowed them a stronghold to continue operations. If the only solution to that is for the federal government of the United States to protect its citizens through the means of force on land or by sea, then I'm not opposed to that. I think that that's a just war. I think that it's a just war and we can conduct it justly. Yeah. But the idea that like they have to be allowed to smuggle however many guns and drugs and traffic however many people they want because the Mexican government isn't going to deal with them directly and we just have to put up with it. I'm sorry. I don't think that's right. That's affecting American citizens. There's people who are dead because we've never had the strength to deal with this. And I think the American people would love it if we were not a state that is buying human beings and illegal weapons and illegal drugs from across the southern border. Yeah. When Trump says I'm open to it, I think he's trying to put some pressure on the president of Mexico to deal with it on their own. But I think he's also kind of open to it. And I'm kind of open to it too.
Yeah. Yeah, I know the people in Mexico are kind of just getting tired of it. And that's something that he didn't even bring up in the clip there, but a huge part of what we see with the cartel is the trafficking. Like that's their most profitable business. Like more so than drugs, more so than illegal firearms, human trafficking. Like these are mostly young girls, young men that are being trafficked into these spheres before they even get the chance to start their own lives. They're usually students that end up becoming just a pawn in these evil people games and their business schemes.
Yeah, it's extremely tragic. It's extremely sad. There is a moral justification for engaging in war. And if the president so chooses to engage in this particular war, he will have my support because being in America first, a patriot of the country, like, hey, we should look after the citizens of the United States. The federal government should. I believe in that. I believe sometimes that means dealing with the threats that are right outside your door. This is a obviously clear and present danger to the United States of America, and it's a slow poison that's been dripped into our country for decades at this point. If they reactivate portions of the army and they start sending people down to fight in a war against Mexico, I'm not opposed to that because our military is meant for a purpose. If it's not for defending Americans, I don't know what that purpose is.
Right.
Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and roll the next clip.
But the truth is, the biggest proponents of this discharge petition were never actually interested in transparency or ensuring justice or protecting victims of this unspeakable tragedy, the Epstein evils. And how do we know that? Because the Democrats had every one of the Epstein files in their possession for the 4 long years of the Biden administration. The Biden Department of Justice had the files the entire time.
Yes.
And not a single one of the
obviously
people
true.
who were
None of the
so
Democrats
loud and
cared
animated
until they
right
thought
now,
it was
they never
politically
said
advantageous.
anything about
They don't
it
care
for
about
all
a
those
single
4
one of those
years.
girls.
None of them held press conferences. None of them demanded the release of the documents. And under Biden's DOJ, when they prosecuted just Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, not a single one of these Democrats or any of the proponents of the discharge ever made any noise about that at all.
Yeah, so Speaker Johnson here is talking about the vote that's coming up to release all of the Epstein files. I think this is a little complicated, so I'm going to take it one piece at a time. One, he's 100% correct. The Democrats did not care.
Yeah.
They never cared. They had all these files for 4 years. The only time that they started to make a ruckus about it was when they thought they could turn it into a politically winning issue for them against the Trump administration. Yeah. Even knowing that the ways in which the Trump administration, Trump himself, are mentioned in the files is it's very vindicating to the president that he was never engaged. Even the people that are in the files who have testified have said the president never at any point had any relationship with anybody that was inappropriate. Trump kicks Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago 2 years before he's even indicted for sex trafficking the first time. And so Trump never was tied up with Epstein in the way that they're portraying him to be. The Democrats have allowed that idea to gain traction, and now they're pushing for this issue. But even today, I saw Democrat politicians who were like, "Oh, wait, we don't actually want to release the Epstein files." They didn't think that the Congress was going to. Now that it looks like they're going to, they're saying, "Oh, wait, maybe we're not sure," because it's only a political bargaining chip that works in the dark for them. That said, I think the Trump administration really fumbled the messaging on this issue for the last better part of the year. I think that Trump personally has nothing to hide. I don't know why he would fumble the messaging. He basically didn't want it to be a distraction for his administration, I don't think, and he just wanted to move on from it. And I think he should have listened to people that were telling him it's only going to be moved on from once this all gets released and taken care of. 100%. But he was winning in so many areas. I think that was a frustration for him. So I think two things are true there. I think it's true that Mike Johnson is 100% correct. The Democrats don't care about this issue. They don't care about the moral issue that there are young girls who've been sex trafficked. They don't care for anything other than it being a political football. That said, Trump and his team did mess up on the messaging on some of this. And the thing that I really do want is I do want the Epstein files to be released. I absolutely do. I want there to be transparency. I don't care who is implicated or what it cost us politically if somebody is indicated in these files. It could be a podcast host. It could be some member of Congress. It doesn't matter to me who's who's actually not even implicated, because you can twist things to say that somebody was something they weren't. I don't care if somebody goes down justly. Let me say that. If they justly are exposed for having wrongdoing because of something that's released, something that comes out, if it means that justice is done, because the primary motivation has to be justice. And I think that's why the American people were so upset about this issue to begin with, is there's this portrayal that Epstein is trafficking all of these girls, two powerful people, and it became this symbol of this elite cabal that people think is running the show behind the scenes. And whether there's truth to that or not, the idea was if we can't even see, if there can't even be transparency, then the distrust in our government, which is already at an all-time high, is going to continue to skyrocket. And so we just want to see, we just want to know. And I don't think Trump's going to be implicated. I really don't think hardly any major Republican figures are going to be implicated by the files. Looks like we have the votes to do it. I think that at the worst, you're going to see that there were some intelligence assets that were going on from our own government that were using this, and that's going to be a major issue. I don't think that's going to happen in terms of Trump or anybody close to him being exposed. That said, if somebody gets exposed, directly implicated, hey, this person did this, and it can be investigated and seen that they were actually raping underage girls on Epstein's island, they should go to prison for that. I'm sorry, that's a morally unjustifiable position for us to cover up on. And if we prioritize that and put it first and prioritize transparency, I think it's going to earn a lot of trust back for the Trump administration. Yeah, no, absolutely. No, I couldn't have said it better myself. Just in terms of we want the truth to come out, like whatever the implications are, like even if there are people that are on our side that are on there. Like it's irrelevant at this point, because our Lord brings things to the light. Like the truth always comes out. Yeah. And so these things that are hidden away, and I think that's the reality of like why a lot of people had such a negative reaction to Trump kind of, saying, hey, this is a Democratic hoax, and just trying to get everybody's attention off of it. I thought you spoke to it really well, but just kind of the rationale behind it. Like, it is the matter of a king's to search things out, to search out the truth. And especially when it's like the implication of not just young girls, but also young boys that have been, permanently just like traumatized from the events that happened on Little St. James, with Jeffrey Epstein. And I don't know. The truth is so much of the files have probably been lost or destroyed or whatever already at this point. I don't know. And the claim that some of the people in the FBI have made that there's no evidence that he trafficked to anybody other than himself, and like a small group of people, that might be true. I just want to see. I just want to see what's true, because the idea that we would let something be covered up that is perhaps indicating powerful figures in our country, and we would just let that slide because of who those figures are, that's incompatible with the ideas of biblical justice. Yeah, I don't know. When people say this was just Epstein by himself, that there was nobody else involved, it reminds me of like
Chris Hansen on Dateline, where it's like, I'll have a seat right there. And the guy's usually like, this was my first time doing this. It's like, no, it wasn't. Come on.
Yeah.
Usually, especially with something that was on this scale, like there were multiple players involved in it. And so the American people deserve to know the truth. The world deserves to know the truth, because I have a feeling that this doesn't just involve the United States.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I don't know. Like I said, I really don't know. And my position is the least popular, which is I'm willing to be convinced based on the evidence. That said, it doesn't seem likely that Epstein was just sort of hanging out on his island with underage girls alone. Right. And Ghislaine Maxwell went away for trafficking. And so, okay, who are you trafficking them to, right? Is it just Epstein, or is there something more that's going on there? And I think that one of the things you have to think too is, okay, well, if Epstein, who we know was working as an informant in part for the FBI, right, was doing all of this, and he's actually working as an informant, the FBI is either turning a blind eye to all of this, or they're helping participate in some form. That seems likely to me. It just seems like there's too much coincidence for it to be a coincidence, you know? And so I want to see what comes out. I'm not for us just like rounding a bunch of people up and saying, hey, like, you met Jeffrey Epstein once and therefore you're going to jail. I'm not pro any of that. But what I am saying is, I want to see what's in there. I want people who are willing to tell the truth to open that up to the public. That's the only way that you can get over this, or this conspiracy will literally drag on till the end of the republic. It will be there forever. Yeah. So next I want to go through this clip that I thought was extremely interesting. It's a clip of a couple of people talking about the way that institutions, right, in this case institutions of higher education and medical institutions that are active, can actively fight back against what the Trump administration and everyone is trying to do when it comes to the transgender issue in hospitals and in education and in medical schools.
Queer and trans students, staff, faculty, and patients. We are being attacked, harmed, and politicized by the current federal administration and state governments that are going against medical and psychological research and best practices. And it feels as though our academic and educational institutions... When
she says psychological best practices, she means things that they just changed like 5 years ago in order to fit their narrative. And when she says harm, she means that we're trying to keep them from cutting off the breasts of young girls and the testicles of young boys.
The reality of the situations,
Let's just define some terms there.
And the attacks. And I pose that to you and or Malika to offer our thoughts on that.
Thank you. It's a really, really important question. I'm very grateful that you brought it up. And Malika, before you and perhaps Frank Trinity wish to comment on this, we're very concerned. It's easy to say we're very concerned, but we are very concerned about this, not only because of healthcare issues, and I'm going to ask Frank if he wishes to comment on our work on gender-affirming care, but also other issues related to not just healthcare, but the psychological effect on people who will feel excluded and actually attacked. And so, again, as Danielle pointed out, we want to focus on concrete things where we can actually suggest a change in policy or stand up for something that the government appears perhaps to be walking away from.
Man, so for those of you who are not watching or just listening, this is two people on a Zoom call that are talking about essentially how they can address and fight back against the backlash that's happened because of how extreme the medical institutions have gotten on the issue of transgenderism. And I'll just say, the institutions are flooded with these people. The idea that they're all gone just because Trump won the election, or that we've won and that there's not any more fight to be had, that's just not true. I think institutionally, the vast majority of people who bought into all of these ideas and the ideas that allowed all of the things during COVID to happen, they're still there. These people are still right there. They're still dealing with it. or they're still dealing with patients. They're still dealing with healthcare policy. They're still dealing with hospital policy. They're still dealing with how we're going to look at the issue of transgenderism as like a medical community. They're still on licensure boards. They're still running all of these institutions. And so when he says, hey, how can we stand up and fight back for transgenders and LGBT and all this stuff in the medical institutions, we should take that threat seriously. What he's saying is, we understand that there's currently been a crackdown because people found out that we were cutting the breasts off of young girls and the testicles off of young boys, and that we were giving them puberty blockers in their preteens and teens, and even in early childhood, and that we were doing these things en masse, and that it's destroying young lives, and that we're doing it without any kind of really proper procedure, and that it's just become the medical practice of the day. And people got angry about that, and they shone light on it. Mm-hmm. And now all of these people are speaking out against us, and the Trump administration is saying, hey, we're going to stop this barbers. And those people are the people that he's talking about when he's saying we have to fight back, right? He's saying what we have to fight for is we have to fight for the right to cut the nuts off young boys. I'm sorry. That's what he's saying. Yeah. That's what he's saying. Yep. And so you look at our institutions and you just think, we've got to get these people out of our institutions. That's crazy. That's the kind of guy that helps determine whether or not your doctor can be a doctor. I'm sorry. That's ridiculous. Yeah. It's absurd. Our medical institutions have been completely captured, and we have to get them back. We have to get them back with people that want to tell the honest truth about what God says about biology. Male and female, he created them. And this issue has not gone away. It's on the retreat, but we have to push. We have to show people the truth. The only way that this goes away is if we show people that there is one thing that is true. And I think that's why we've been winning on this issue. I think Matt Walsh has been indispensable on this issue. He's the one who came out and he made his documentary, What is a Woman? And it changed the culture. I think in a lot of ways it changed the conversation. We have to continue that in. Yeah. And you just have to say, okay, you're saying transgender rights. Do you mean giving hormone blockers to little girls? Is that what you mean? Right. Do you mean giving puberty blockers to little boys? Is that what you're talking about? Let's just clarify our terms. You have to have a clarity of terms, and you have to have a clarity of what you guys are discussing. And then you have to say, well, and Matt, look at all the people like Chloe Cole who had her breast cut off when she was 15 and now she regrets it. Yeah. Is that medical care? You really think that's medical care? I was having a conversation on Facebook a couple months ago now with this guy who's like, transgender rights are rights. And I said, you are talking about the butchering of people, adults and adolescents and kids. That's what you're talking about. And nobody's ever regretted That's not true. This is the kind of claim that they believe. They believe that this is life-saving therapy. This is an entrenched position among the medical institutions today. We have to go through these institutions. The Trump administration should go through these institutions. We need to make sure that when you're taking medical exams, one of the questions on the medical exams is whether or not you understand and believe in the biological sexes. If you can't institute policies like that, then in the long term, these people who wait out in these institutions from administration to administration to administration, they're going to continue to steer policy, and they're going to continue to steer what gets put out as medical opinion, and it's going to continue to shift the culture in the country. And so we have to clamp down on it right now while we have the ability to. This is a winning issue for us because people are looking around and they're saying, I don't think it's okay that 6'2", 200-pound boy is beating my girl in soccer or in track, right? And you look at that and you go, that's a problem. People are favorable to that idea right now, and we have to keep talking about it because it has not actually gone away. It's just been pushed to the edges a little bit more than it was before. Yeah, no, especially, listening to that older gentleman, use that term loosely there, hearing him talk, I can see off camera, he's got an Alfred Kinsey poster up on his wall. Just in terms of like the gender mutilation, what we're seeing now is the culture. We're seeing a very like sharp contrast to where, we have the openly spiritual that are embracing themselves as God, that are embracing, their own morality as the basis, this idea of subjective morality. And once we remove God out of the picture, we completely get rid of objective morality, and then our own way of thinking, that's good enough. That works out. That ends up working out. An idea that we had in the moment ends up working out. But these medical establishments, the thing that nobody is talking about is how much money they make off of these operations. The clinics make an insane amount, millions and millions of dollars. It's totally mammon driven, and what mammon is the personified greed of money, the love of money. And that's 100% what we're seeing in these medical establishments is they're able to make a quick buck off of it. And then, a lot of these people that go through these procedures, they end up regretting it. And they realize
deep down spiritually, there's no other way that you can explain it, is that God designed them to be a certain way.
Yeah.
And they're breaking out of that design. And so now these medical institutions are now giving them antidepressants. Like they're giving them all these other medications to the point where they're going to be medicated for the rest of their lives. These medical establishments are getting paychecks every month from these patients that have made a heartbreaking decision and taking advantage of them.
Yeah. And one of the things I think too is that you look at this, and what the demonic does is it takes God's order and tries to invert it, right? And so transgenderism is a demonic idea that is trying to manifest in the physical by twisting what God has ordained, male and female, and twisting it into a perverted image.
Well, it's the picture of Baphomet.
Yeah.
You think about the picture of Baphomet. I mean, it's the top half has a woman's breast, and then the bottom half is male. I mean, it's exactly, it's a Luciferian idea, this twisting of genders.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not a new idea either. It's an idea that's existed since the days of Ashereth, right? And when people would prostitute themselves and try and play on and pretend as other genders. It's a demonic spirit, because if you can redefine the most fundamental reality that male and female, he created them, then you can get people to do anything. If you can get them to reject that fundamental premise of life, you can get them to do anything. And so I think it's a demonic idea for our culture. I think we have to keep fighting back against it. I think if we don't keep fighting back against it and press the advantage while we have it, that we are going to see this idea come back under the next administration, the next time the culture shifts, and it's going to come back 10 times stronger. And we have to completely root it out of our culture right now. It's an abomination, truly in every sense of the word. And what it does is it destroys every life that it touches, and it destroys our culture. It destroys our way of thinking. It destroys our ability to perceive things as true.
Yeah. Because ultimately, like I saw a study recently, and I can't cite it off the top of my head, but I do know that a lot of these people that end up going through these procedures that end up having gender dysphoria usually have a sexual trauma of some kind in their life. They've been addicted to pornography. And so it's this hyperfixation on the sexual, and going back to like what you said with Ashtoreth, it's this putting sex up on a pedestal. And even going back to the first clip that we showed of, what's the meaning of life? Is there any meaning in life? No.
Yeah.
And so that's what you do. You chase whatever desire fits you the most. And for a lot of people, that's sex. For a lot of people, that's money. For a lot of people, that is, there is nothing. And so nothing really matters at all. But it's the removal of God. And I think right now, like what you're saying, we need to take advantage of the momentum that we have, to make sure that these things, these harmful ideologies, because they are, like people like to say that Christianity is a harmful ideology. There's no hate like Christian love.
Yeah, Christianity.
I love hearing that. Love hearing that.
Ideology of life and light. But yeah, sure.
But it's the truth. It's the truth will set you free, and the truth is confronting. The truth is a sword. It divides between joint and marrow, between soul and spirit. And there's going to be, there's going to be kind of a grit your teeth reaction to it at first, but your soul knows deep down, your spirit knows deep down that it was once dead, but it can be brought to life.
Yeah. Amen. Well, everybody, thank you so much for joining us today on this episode of the Under God podcast. Until next time, I'm Daniel. I'm joined with Elliot today, and we're going to be back talking to you again soon about what God has to say in some of these issues that matter most.
God bless.
Thank you for joining us today on the Under God podcast. If this episode encouraged you, share it with a friend or family member. Your support helps us reach more people with God's Word. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube, Rumble, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and at undergodpodcast.com so that you never miss an episode. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, X, True Social, and TikTok for more content, behind-the-scenes moments, and faith-filled encouragement throughout the week. We want to hear from you. Leave a comment, join the conversation, and send us your questions. We will be answering them in upcoming Q&A episodes. Until next time, remember to think biblically about the things that matter.